Hi, this is William. Welcome to FlySpoke. This fly right here was created by a fellow by the name of Doug Hastings, and he was fishing up on the little southwest Miramichi in New Brunswick, Canada, Atlantic salmon. And this one right here happens to be a 6 single, up-eye single. And he was fishing with this fly, and his buddy, who happened to be named Murray, was asking him every time he hooked up a fish, what fly you're using, and he just kept saying, same thing, Murray, and well, that's how it got its name, same thing, Murray. This one here is a size 10 up-eye double. Basically the same pattern, a little bit smaller. And the one we're going to do today, I'm going to take an up-eye low water double, and this one happens to be in a size 8. I'm going to start off using some uni thread. It's in chartreuse, and it's 8/0. And the reason I use the chartreuse is because I'm going to be using a green floss material, and when the floss gets wet, you want the underbody to have a similar coloration. If I was using black thread for the whole fly, there's a possibility that that black could kind of show through and not let the green color be as vibrant. And the first thing is I'm going to use some very light gauge silver color wire, and I'm just going to put that in towards the back. Keep running that, and to really grab it, I'm going to have to grab it underneath up here in the hook. A little haphazard on the thread winding, and that's perfectly okay with this. And now I'm going to bring this back right about there. It's back beyond the hook points, but not much. And the way I'm going to wind this is actually going to be towards the back of the fly. I ran it up through the 2 hook points. Now I'm running back, putting on the butt. Now what I do is I just hold it right here, slide it back through, pull slightly tight. You don't want to pull too hard or you will crack that. You'll break the wire itself off. And that completes the butt, but I'm going to keep this here because it's going to be a rib a little later on. Okay, stop right there. The next item, this is a golden pheasant body feather, and some people for this fly would use a bright orange hen hackle, but I happen to like using this whenever orange for Atlantic salmon. It's the tail of a Lady Caroline spay fly as well, and for some reason after I started tying the Lady Carolines, I like this orange so much, just the way it looks, that I've continued now to use it. And the tail's not going to be all that long, and none of this fly is too dense. You don't want too much material. And I'm just going to wind this now, pretty tight turns. Looking at it from the top now to make sure that my tail is running straight down the middle. And that's it, right back to where that silver butt is, silver tag. Okay, I'm going to leave this on right here. I'm going to leave on these fibers to keep my body pretty uniform in size. And just leave this here. Next thing is for some body material. I'm going to be using this, again, another Uni product, hot green. Very, very bright, nice green for floss. You can use fluorescent colors if you like. Okay. So I like to double up my floss. So I'm moving forward. And I'm going to leave the rib there. I'm going to take my floss, put it in backwards. Set it just for a moment right there on top. All right. And right about there, about a little more than a third of the way. You want this butt to be a accentuated green. Okay, now I'm going to take the floss, and sometimes the floss, when you turn it like this and it's tied in, just give it a couple of little pops like that to even it out. Then just take your fingers and run down the length of the floss. That'll get your fibers of the floss running pretty evenly. And then I twist it slightly. I'll twist it until I see the fibers start to twist. And it'll still lay flat for me. Now I'm running this turn next to turn. And every time it comes a little bit too loose, I'll give it a twist. So with each turn, twist, turn, twist. For this, you can use things like Uni Stretch and various materials. You don't have to use a floss where the fibers are. Now when I get to the last one here, I give it a number of twists. Come across the top and then go forward. And now it's okay if I just let it go flat. It's going to give me the flattest look to this floss. Hold it nice and tight. Take your ribbing right away and just move it out of the way. And you're going to cinch down everything right there. Okay, let's get rid of the ends of the floss. And let's neaten up right here. Just take this and cover. Okay, next item. I'm going to take 2 barbules of peacock herl. Tie it in, not at the tip. I don't need that much material, so I'm going to move up I'm going to run this to the bottom. And I'm not going to go all the way to the front of this fly. I need to leave myself some room in the front. And I'll just trim those off. And put this on as the front part of the body. And right to there. Bend this back, cover over. Trim. Now I'm going to counter wrap the rib. And with this, you don't want the spacing to be too close. Try to make it as even as you possibly can. And you got to hold this tight now. Don't let go of that. Don't let go of the rib. Bend it back over and grab it one more time right there like that. Now you know it's really secure. Take it off. Okay. Now I'm going to take some green color, green tinted flash material. I take just 2 strands. Because what I want to do is, instead of putting in this type of material by the tips, you always put in any kind of synthetic material like this. Put it in the middle, put it on the top, then bend it back. Now you know it's in there, it's not coming out. And I put that right on the top. And when I trim this, I don't want it as far as the tail, and I also don't want it to be each one exactly the same length. And that way, it's a lot better flow than if they were all exactly the same length. Look at them. Is there one that you would rather have a little shorter, or? And you can just there. They're close in length, but they're not exact. Alright. Fly originally called for black bear hair, black bear, green butt. Fly at the time, I'm sure, was real popular. It has a lot of similarity to that fly. But I prefer to use squirrel tail, or even Arctic fox, or materials like that on bigger flies, temple dog, where the wing is going to have a lot more flow to it. But this fly calls for a very sparse wing. I don't want to use a stacker. I'm not looking for paintbrush appearance. So I hand stack them. Just make sure there's nothing really, really long sticking out. Measure the length. And again, not as far as the tail. Leave the tail stick back. Change hands. Trim. I'm going to put that wing, hold it right where I want it. Grab it. Now I immediately want to look at it from the top, and I want to make sure we're spread equidistant, side to side on the top. The tension of the thread being wrapped clockwise has a tendency to pull materials, so you always have to be cognizant of that. Alright, that looks pretty good. Next thing is I'm going to take this is a hen hackle, and I'm looking for a feather where the barbules are not going to be all that long. And I'm going to trim this. I'm going to take this feather, and first I'm going to take off all this bottom, but right up close to the softer stuff. Okay, it's going to get tied in this way, and this side is what I want to use. So I'm going to remove off the barbules on the forward running side, and I'm simply going to tie that in right square on the top. It's just the easiest place for me, and I'm going to advance my thread, and right here I'm going to whip finish off the chartreuse. Trim it, and I'm going to switch to black thread. Okay, I'm switched off to black. Again, it's uni 8/0, and I'm just going to start my thread again right on top of where the chartreuse left off. And just move somewhat forward, just like that. I can trim off the stem of the feather now. Now I'm going to take this feather and I'm going to put one wrap, making sure that everything is facing backwards, and then one right in front of it, and in front again, always right in front. One more. And I'm going to tie that down. And what I want to make sure I do here, I put a couple of wraps here like this. I grab the whole thing, make it all flow back, and come up on, slightly up on to the feather. And I get everything to flow back slightly. Alright. And trim off the tip of that hackle. Alright. Next item. Take some red floss, very bright red floss. And I'm going to put that in right next to the hackle. Secure that in there pretty well for yourself. Again, pull your floss so that you make sure all the strands of the floss are uniform. And I'm going to put this bright red band of floss on right here. look 360. Alright. Trim the floss. Okay. Last material. Piece of black dyed ostrich herl. I'm going to tie that in by the butt of the feather. Move slightly forward. Watch out because it'll have a tendency to jump forward on you. You can throw a wrap if you want to hold it. I bent it back. I'm going to leave it bent back. I'm just going to build up a head. Moving back towards the ostrich, trying to keep the barbia cells of the ostrich from being in your finishing of the head. Looks pretty good. Whip finish that. All right. Okay, little using today some diamond. What's it called? It's called Diamond Strength. Diamond Strength. Sally Hansen. You know, the hard as nails. And I'm just going to do this. Now on a working fly like this that I'm going to go fishing with, I just put 2 coats. But you got to let that first coat really thoroughly dry. Okay. So, same thing, Murray. Great fly, really overlooked. Going to Matapedia, going to Matan, on Gaspé, or even any of the Miramichi drainage rivers. Just a great fly, overlooked too many times, and you'll like it. Same thing, Murray. There it is.